Proving Grounds, the only Magic the Gathering podcast that proves you can put all the spoilers into one podcast episode instead of stretching them out over a month and a half.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just a spoiler show with like a break in between of like 3 weeks.
Magic the spoiling.
I mean, I disagree with that, but sure.
Of course you would disagree that. You disagree with everything. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think you should talk about it all the time, but if some hot new card comes out, you should probably give it a mention.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I agree with that. And I think that's kind of our MO. We talked about some interesting cards as they popped up here and there. Anyways.
Because it's not like our chat hasn't been filled with us.
Oh, I know, right?
It's like, if you looked at our chat looks like those spoiler podcasts that you hate.
I don't hate them. I'm just saying that I don't want to do them all the time. I enjoy hearing other people talk.
They're a lot of work, man.
Yeah, I'd want other things filling in too, you know. I don't want to just always talk about new cards.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, oh, this one sucks, this one's not. I'd rather just talk about the good ones.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't just want to talk about new cards, how come it's the only thing in our chat for the last week and a half?
Well, because we're preparing for this show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Research.
It's not that that's what you wanted to talk about. I gotcha. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm your host, moderator Dave, and I have with me
better Dave, me,
and
Ben.
Guys got work.
I'm still not used to this, like, not the host not saying the name thing.
You got to jump in and introduce yourself.
You sounded so defeated when you said Ben. It sounded like Ben.
It's like you miss your cue
on
stage, and then everybody knows you missed your cue, and then you're like, oh.
Aww.
How do I come up from this?
All right, so let's get down to brass tacks. What have you guys been doing this week?
Evaluating Dominaria spoilers.
Yes.
And also playing my Pauper deck that I built for the challenge. It turns out it's hard to test your deck when you only have Sparky to play against, because you can't, there's no Pauper format to test on officially unless there's an event going on in Arena.
Yeah, that's a little rough. Ran into the same problem myself.
Yeah, I think we all had that problem.
Yeah. It was rough. This challenge was rough.
That's why I didn't even test mine. So I'm just going to say, I was like, I'm not even going to go against Sparky, because even if I go against Sparky, I don't really have a baseline for what a Pauper deck's supposed to do to Sparky. I'm just going to roll balls deep into the challenge with no testing.
Wow. Bold.
Worked out for Ben all right last week. He got second place. I guess I can't begrudge the strategy. I try so hard, and I'm probably going to be last place again, but I actually did 2 decks. But we'll talk about this.
You tried so hard.
Got so
far, but in the end.
Superior Dave whips your ass anyway.
Anyways, started streaming on the Proving Grounds channel this week. So Ben came and said hi. I didn't see you there though, other Dave.
Because you kept streaming while I was working.
Yeah.
You had internet?
I'm hitchhiking.
Finally got connectivity in midway through New Mexico. I'm excited about this next thing we're going to talk about, because I think I may have actually won something. It's a shame that it's
a non-title match.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's a win that doesn't mean anything. But let's resolve the predictions challenge, shall we?
Sure.
Do you just want to go through each hint, or do you just want to talk about the ones I got right and the ones you didn't? Did you guys get any of them right?
I don't think so.
This was actually hard. I'd like to say that I've got the Planeswalker correctly, which was Liliana of the Veil. The popular Planeswalker gets a reprint card. And then I got Returning Crew of the Weatherlight gets cards, which was Karn, Squee, and Iratai, which I was pulling Iratai like straight out of my butt there. I didn't have any clue like he was going to do that. I just liked the character. I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw that out there because he was cool. But apparently he's back, and he did die, but he's been resurrected.
Phyrexians are good about that, I guess.
Yeah, he's bringing everybody back for one last hurrah. I think we'll skip the ones we didn't get right because a lot of them fall into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Going forward, so we don't want to repeat ourselves. But I'm the winner. While I don't get a belt, I think I should be called Oracle Dave since I did win the predictions episode.
Look,
what do you guys think?
Well, back to the things. I just want to bitch about one thing real quick. They said a character players have been requesting get a card for years finally gets one was one of the hints. And that card was somebody I've never even heard of. Yeah,
apparently we don't read enough flavor text, I guess, because this card was mentioned. I guess I don't know anything.
How many players?
So I will.
Two.
I will.
Two
say
players
this.
have been asking for this.
Well, okay, let's not.
It's Jared Carthalion.
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 So what I will say is I was watching the stream as they started to talk about it.
Okay.
They were like, hey, coming up is this card. They hadn't said the name yet. And like the chat was blowing up with the Jared name. And I was like, who the is Jared?
Wow.
Jared. Who the is Jared?
And so while none of us apparently have heard of Jared, apparently he has, a lot of people have been saying he needs a card because that was the only name that I saw in chat. And you know how that Twitch chat is. It was just like scrolling by, and it was just like a million Jareds. And I was like,
people just blowing it up.
Wow.
Jared, whoever that is.
Apparently. I want to wrap it up. I am so upset that Blightmare is not a thing, and that also they did not go hard into Poisonous at all.
I'm glad they didn't go hard into Poisonous. I don't like Poison. Yeah.
I like it. I wish there's more of it. And
they did 0 infect. They really hate that mechanic.
I think if they are going to go back to poison counters and infect, it needs to be in the modern packs and not in. I don't think they will ever go back to that being something that is prevalent in standard.
That would make a lot of sense.
I agree with that because infect is kind of busted.
Yeah, I think they can do that in the modern packs since that stuff already exists in modern, and it can add a tool set to a deck that's already out there. But I don't think you can put that stuff into standard again after the way it went last time.
Yeah. One more thing. I think that talking about other Dave's extra prediction,
I'm still right.
You're still right. I wanted to check in because the Lorigorf we got was pretty cool.
It's cool, but I don't think it's gonna break the meta the way the other Goyf did.
Yes,
because the prediction was not that it would be bad. The prediction was that it would disappoint people who were expecting to get Goyf level production.
I'd like to point out that in the document that you wrote, it says Goyf will be bad in the meta.
In the
meta.
Okay.
That means that it means the current meta as it is, like it won't slot in anywhere and do good.
Okay.
You'd have to build something, but even then, I don't think it would be good. Like original Goyf is still better.
It. Also, the other prediction was that Ben would still be bad at Magic, and that is definitely still true.
I'll prove you wrong.
One of these days. Training montage featuring Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, punching some meat.
Hey man, what you do on your own time is none of my business.
Gonna punch them beef slabs.
All right. Well, let's get into the spoiler part of the spoiler show. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the new injury turning mechanics? For the set? Let's go.
Do it.
All right. Let's talk about the mechanics. The new ones first, and then we'll talk about the returning ones because the new ones are cool and the returning ones half of kicker. New keyword ability, read ahead, which I think is cool. It's featured on sagas. And it allows you to place, as the Saga ETBs, a lore counter, 1 or more, all the way up to the maximum amount of chapters. And then the Saga hits the board with that many counters on it and triggers that chapter. So if you put 3 counters on it, it's chapter 3. 2 counters on it, it's chapter 2.
Doesn't trigger the previous ones.
Yeah, because you've read ahead.
Right. I think this mechanic is good. I think this awesome will be... pretty good. It basically makes your card, your Saga, a modal card. I mean, how many times have you played a Saga and said, man, I don't want to wait those 2 turns because I really need that 3rd one right now. and now you can
really
have
prefer to have my Kiki Jiki on turn 1, actually. Thanks.
Well, yes.
Yeah, it's quite a powerful keyword. I mean, so the power of the keyword also depends on the power of the card.
Well, yeah.
But the cards that it is on all do really cool things. I think that it's a very, like you said, makes a card a modal card. So you can choose what effect you need at the time. I really like this keyword.
Modal.
I really like all the new keywords.
Yes, modal cards are best cards. All right. So big thumbs up for everybody on the read ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to stun counters. This was the new Evergreen mechanic. Evergreen counter that we didn't get right. And I think this is like the coolest way. Like, it's so simple, but yet so elegant that you're surprised that it took them 30 years to come up with this, to be honest.
Yeah, when I saw stun counter and read it, I was like, yep, that's the Evergreen mechanic. It was instantly like, why is this not have been a thing? And obviously it will continue to be a thing.
It's got so much legs to it. It's just like, it's great. So what is stun counter? Everybody's asking, I'm sure, because, you know, ours is the podcast that everybody listens to and listens to no other podcasts. That is, if a permanent with a stun counter on it would become untapped, remove one stun counter from it instead.
I think instead of calling you Oracle Dave, I'm going to call you Humble Dave.
Yeah, so obviously this is good because if you want something to be tapped for multiple times, then it's good.
Yeah.
And it's good because anything with proliferate can also increase the amount of stun counters.
I was going to say proliferate could make this so that you could practically keep your entire opponent's board locked down.
Yep.
Yes.
While buffing your own creatures, right? So, yeah. And then the other thing is I think it's better for readability of the game. Because sometimes when you play a card and it says doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, there's not really like you keep that up in the air and you kind of remember it. You can put a counter on it or whatever, but this is a nice clean marker that you can see. You know.
My question is: Does stun counter 1 replace target creature does not untap during its next controller's next unstep?
I think it does.
Phase? What do you think, David?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
It's not exactly the same. That's why I was wondering,
right.
Because it's not exactly the same, because anytime it would be untapped, you can remove a counter. Therefore, you had a card that was like untapped target creature. You can untap it and take a counter off of it, kind of thing. But it's real similar, and stun counter 1 takes up less room on a card. So
when they think it'll be relevant, they will replace it, but otherwise, because you can't proliferate right? If it's not a stun counter, you can't proliferate it.
Yeah.
I'd say there are
you're right.
There are other ways that the stun counter is relevant, and other ways that the other one can be relevant too.
Does having a stun counter on it count as a modified creature?
Yes, because modified creature is anything with a counter on it.
So it is very relevant that it's a counter.
We all believe this has legs. Also, thumbs up from us. All right. Now let's go on to the next keyword ability that is new, and that is enlist, or as I like to call it, fixed banding.
I've actually seen a lot of people confused about how this mechanic works.
It's
very easy, I thought.
I mean,
the number one thing that I have seen people mess up is the summoning sickness part.
Oh, yeah, it does specifically state that.
Yeah, because I still see people saying, "Oh, well, you can play this turn 1 and then enlist it into something else." I'm like, you can't, or not turn 1, but you can enlist something the turn you play it. I'm like, no, it would have summoning sickness. You can't.
Right, that's a stark difference to like crewing a vehicle, because you can crew when you're summoning sick. You cannot.
That's correct.
Enlist.
All right. So enlist is, as this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature's power until end of turn.
Yeah, I really like this mechanic.
I do too. Like I said, it's fixed banding.
Yeah.
But it gives you the ability to have creatures that have effects that you don't have to put at risk in order to do damage.
Yep.
Punch above their weight class, too. This probably helps like white weenie decks.
For sure. Also, thumbs up on this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all right. Okay, the final new mechanic is Power Stone tokens. This is cool because a Power Stone token is an artifact with tap, add 1 colorless mana. This mana cannot be spent on non-artifact spells.
To cast a non-artifact spell. Yes. I think it's good. I think the Power Stone tokens themselves are good. I'm not sure that I like any of the cards that create them in this set. Does that make sense?
Isn't that just Karn?
No, there's another one that does it's like Mana Engine or something that does the Karn thing, but it's not Karn. But yeah, having a token that you don't sacrifice to add the mana that just stays out, I think that's going to be something powerful in the future. I think we'll probably see more of it in the Brothers War.
You mean this really speeds up my affinity deck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like them. I think they're very flavorful. I don't know if it's the most lickable thing from this set, but it is up there. Like it a lot.
Yeah, and to note that the wording of this mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell is a weird way of saying it, but at first you're like, okay, well, it's only for artifacts, but it's not actually. You can use this to activate abilities. Right.
Yep,
so
that's a good point.
That's the weird way that it's worded, because at first you're like, why didn't they just say, but that's why.
Why didn't you just say it differently? Because it's this way for a reason.
Right.
I am positive there's going to be a way to break these things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure somebody's going to find it.
Yeah, a way to like continuously untap them.
Yeah.
For some infinite amount of mana, because that's what people always do with artifacts.
Uh-huh. That's why they're like, that's why in this set there's probably only like a few cards that make it and they come into play tapped.
Yeah.
They're like, we're scared of this mechanic.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets busted at some point in the near future. But
I mean, what is it? Amulet of Vigor? Doesn't that allow? Is it just lands untapped, or is it all permanents?
I don't know.
You're the modern player. You tell me.
Yeah, it's whenever a permanent enters the battlefield, tap under your control, untap it. So, I mean, you can easily combo that with this Amulet of Vigor to make good mana.
Mm.
And it's an artifact, so
Artifacts are always broken eventually. Moving on to returning mechanics. There's 2 of them. First one is Kicker. It's back.
Yep.
But did it ever really leave, since everything is in fact Kicker?
Yeah, everything's a mode of Kicker.
I feel like Kicker is always in standard anyway.
I was going to say, weren't there Kicker cards in
Dungeons?
Oh, was it Dungeons?
And Zendikar also had Kicker.
No, it is Zendikar that I was thinking of. Sorry.
All that stuff rotates out in September, right?
Yep.
Those 2 sets.
It rotates out when Kicker comes back in here in Dominaria.
Yeah, they're just bringing it back, yeah.
Yeah, Kicker
like,
never in standard.
We must have Kicker in standard at all times.
I mean, it seems to be everyone's favorite mechanic, so.
Well, it's a neat little mechanic.
It's all right.
I mean,
you sound so disappointed about Kicker.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's great to have another choice if you draw a card late game. Then you can take advantage of the extra, but still get a card earlier, right? It's great. But it's not my favorite mechanic.
Yeah,
what's your favorite mechanic?
Multi-kicker, obviously.
Yeah, man, multi-kicker inherently is better, right? I guess. I don't know.
Wow, so it could be Kicker?
Sure.
All right, let's move on to the next keyword.
No. Other Dave, what's your favorite mechanic?
I told you it's multi-kicker.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's inherently better than Kicker.
I like Affinity for artifacts a lot.
I do like that too, actually. I'm going to change my answer.
Or just Affinity in general, I think is cool.
I'm going to change my answer to direct damage.
Is that an ability?
It's my favorite mechanic. Right to the face.
Yeah.
Mine is cycling, but yeah.
Cycling is really powerful, yeah. I would put cycling above Kicker.
Yeah, I would too. Anyways.
As long as you include channel in the cycling/channel. That's like one mechanic.
I don't consider channeling cycling, but...
Either does the game, obviously.
Yeah. If you were to ask me what the most powerful mechanic is, it's probably Kicker. But if you're asking me which one I like the most, it's probably cycling.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to a mechanic that is neither cycling or kicker. It's the next keyword ability, which is domain. This was also an answer to one of the clues Mark Rosewater left, which was returning keyword ability that was not named originally but became named later. It was originally introduced in Apocalypse, so it's fitting that it's coming back for Apocalypse 2.0, and then was later named in Shards of Alara block.
Correct.
So now we have it here, which is a domain is an ability that counts the number of basic land types among the lands you control, then gives you a boost associated.
It does something based on that number.
Yeah, based on that number. It's X is the number of basic lands you control.
Land types.
Basic land types.
So up to 5. Well, up to 6 technically, because I think isn't...
No, 5 basic land types.
5 basic land types.
But isn't
Forest,
the Eldrazi one a basic land?
Nope.
No.
It's a basic land,
Waste.
but it does not have a based waste.
Oh, it doesn't have
right.
It's devoid of a type. Right. Okay.
But it doesn't have a type.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Very cool.
I think this is an interesting mechanic. I just don't know that I like the idea of playing this mechanic. Does that make sense?
I don't like the mechanic at all, actually, but
I do think it's interesting that with the triomes and a shock land on turn 2, you can have full domain, but
yeah, but it's one of those workhorse mechanics.
What are the chances that you are building a 5-color deck and you get the opposite triome and the opposite shock land in your starting hand?
Very low, I'm sure. It is possible, but I mean, like when this was introduced, it was like, okay, you can have domain in 5 turns or less because of the very, very old, taiga and all that. But like, it wasn't as powerful. Like, this can be more powerful now because of all the different types of lands that they have that have multiple basic land types.
When was it introduced?
Apocalypse.
Okay. I guess I was just thinking of when it was named.
Yeah, which was Alara.
Yeah.
Block. I don't know. I think it's one of those workhorse mechanics that it does have a little bit of flavor because your Dominaria is coming together much like they did in Apocalypse for Apocalypse 2, Phyrexia and Boogaloo to, save the plane. So I think it's got some nice flavor to it, and it does do some work. It's just not as flashy as Kicker.
Yeah, you basically have to build around it.
Yeah, or as elegant as Stun counters. But, it's there. I'm going to give it like a half a thumbs up.
No, that makes one of us.
No,
I don't like this mechanic. I never did.
So it's a half a thumbs up from me and no thumbs from either of you.
Right.
Okay. Wow. That's depressing.
It's a 0.5 out of 6.
That's good. That's a good score there.
Sorry.
What kind of math are you working with?
Can't we do
we
2
each
thumbs?
have 2 thumbs.
Yeah, can't you do 2 thumbs? So are you giving it 1 thumb, Ma Dave, or are you giving it a half of thumb out of 2?
I wasn't aware that 2 thumbs were involved, so I'll give it 1 thumb.
Okay.
You're changing
the 0 thumbs.
33% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to give it 1/10 of a thumb.
I cut my fingernails this morning. They can have that. So you guys want to move on to card picks?
Yeah.
This is the part we've been jonesing for the entire week when spoilers got real heavy, man.
Yeah.
Talk about the good stuff. Who wants to go first?
How about you go first because you won the challenge?
Oh, I get something?
Yeah.
Aw, making me feel
the
special.
Card picking challenge, so.
All right. We're going to go with Urza Assembles the Titans. I think this is a very cool card. It is a saga for the time that Urza assembled the Titans. It's in the name.
This is actually also my favorite card in the set.
Yeah, it's a good card, right? I don't know. I'm not good at evaluating cards, but I like the bit in the books where Urza, as the name suggests, assembles the Titans and then goes to Phyrexia. to mess stuff up during the first invasion of Dominaria. Well, I guess the second by the Phyrexians.
All right, what's the card do?
It has read ahead, so all the sagas in this set have read ahead, so that's cool. First chapter, Scry 4. Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If a Planeswalker card is revealed this way, put it into your hand. Chapter 2 is you may put a Planeswalker card with the mana value 6 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. And then chapter 3 is you may activate the loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control twice this turn rather than only once. And it is for 3 generic, 2 white. I think this is cool because it mechanically tells basically the story behind the Titans. You look for your Planeswalker buddies that you need to power your giant mechs, and then you put them onto the battlefield. And then you get to activate their loyalty counters, and some of them can accidentally kill each other on Phyrexia because secretly the one that is the blue-black pirate is secretly a bad guy.
Surprising.
Who would have thought the pirate, the black mana pirate Planeswalker is a bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
Blue-black. Anyways.
Which one was that?
What's his name?
Bolivar?
Bolivar? Yeah. Couldn't remember if it was Lavar or Levitt. Levitt.
Like
Bolivar
Burton, but Bolivar.
Yeah, Bolivar.
I really like this card. I think you have problems if this card does not have read ahead. Because
yes.
I don't think the one effect is effective enough to spend 5 mana on, especially if you're on turn 5.
Right, because you want immediate good.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of situations where people drop this on 1 unless they have control of the board, like they just board wiped or there's no immediate threats. I don't see you dropping it at 1 very often, but dropping it at 2 is so effective. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you lose 2 cards, but for 5, you get to put a Planeswalker that's 6 or less. The Planeswalker probably is going to affect the battlefield. And then the next turn, you get to activate their abilities twice.
Yeah.
It's a pretty effective card. There are very few Planeswalkers where you getting to use any of their abilities twice is not going to affect the board state in a meaningful way.
Yep, I like the card. It is a good card. So what's your pick? Whoever wants to go next.
I can go next. I will talk about Temporary Lockdown. It's 2 white, 1 colorless. It's an enchantment. When Temporary Lockdown enters the battlefield, exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less until Temporary Lockdown leaves the battlefield. It's like a portable hole, but it's like massive portable hole. Also, there's a couple good things about this. One, it's not targeted, so it's each. So anything with hexproof, this can grab. And the fact that it's mana 2 value or less allows it to be in more decks than would otherwise work. So, for example, obviously this would be a blue-white control kind of staple, right? They don't play a lot of permanents, and if they do, then they're usually above 2, to fairies and such. And but also this could go in like certain Cascade style decks that don't play cards under mana value 2, like Living End. This could be a good thing for Living End because in those first 3 turns, I don't think they'll actually play it, but in the Living End style situation. But any deck that takes like 2 or 3 turns to set up, would want to use this card. I think that's in white. I think it's good. It might be more of a sideboard card in a lot of situations in a lot of decks, but I do think it is a highly playable card.
Yeah, this card says to me 2 things. Thing number 1, and probably the most important thing, it says, I was clearly designed in the midst of a pandemic. Thing number 2, I really hate mono red aggro.
Yeah, this is definitely sideboard for that. Pioneer, Modern, and Standard.
I hate Ren and 6, but
yeah.
Expect little old me to know anything about that Modern staple.
you mentioned decks that take 2 or 3 turns to set up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're set up on turn 3, do you think you're temporary lockdown in instead of getting yourself set up?
It depends on what your board state looks like. So, like, if your big play is on 3, but it's not going to be effective because they have a ton of things out blocking you, then you play this and then play turn 4. I don't know. I'd have to see it played and I have to like fiddle with it, but obviously the choice is blue-white control. That's like the thing, right?
Right.
But other than that, in the other extraneous decks beyond that, it's kind of like you'd have to test it and be finicky with certain, things.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what's your first card pick there, other Dave?
My first card pick is Archangel of Wrath.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is 2 white, 2 colorless. It has kicker for black and or red. It has flying and lifelink, and when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, it deals 2 damage to any target. If it enters the battlefield and it was kicked twice, it deals another 2 damage to any target.
Yeah.
So for 6, you can deal 4 damage to your board or to the player.
Any target.
And get a 3/4. And get a flying lifelink 3/4.
Yeah, and you do 4 damage.
And gain
4 life.
Gain 4 life.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
She has lifelink, and she's the one dealing.
She does the damage. Yep.
Sick. That's nice.
That's what that was the big point for me. Is a lot of people don't realize that because she does the damage, you gain the life.
Oh yeah.
So for 6, 3/4 flying lifelink, some removal or some direct damage, and some life gain. It's pretty effective.
Yep. This was going to be one of my picks, but you got me to it. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice. I like it. I think it's a pretty good Mardu card.
Anytime that I can gain life, deal damage, and get a creature, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, definitely a standard card for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly Pioneer as well. Not sure about Modern.
Pioneer.
It's definitely not Modern playable.
Yeah. Too many mana.
Yeah.
Is there a decent Mardu deck in Pioneer at the moment?
Greasefang.
I said decent, not cheap.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit into Greasefang, I'm sure.
No, it does not. But there is I think there's a Cleric's deck that is not very much in there, but I don't know if this would slot in there or not. Like a Orzhov, black and white.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to my next pick. So I'm going to go with this next one, not because I feel like this card is... the card's okay. Shore Up for 1 blue. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Untap it. And it's an instant. So this is a great 1 mana protection spell for when you got something on the board you really need to stay on the board.
Yeah.
But look how cool that lobster is. Look at it. This is like the coolest freaking lobster I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting shored up, man. He's got vines on him, and
yeah, he's got a sick glyph on his back. He's got a hat.
Yeah, he's hexproof.
It's a pretty swag lobster. So
I think this card could end up being one of the cards that helps mono blue tempo become a thing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the untap it part is the part that I like. There are cards that do this same thing or very similar effects, but don't have untap it on it. And I think the untap it is an important thing you can, fiddle with.
Yeah, because one of the keys to mono blue tempo before was dive down.
Yeah,
mostly just for the hexproof,
right?
As an instant. Yeah. But also, this card helps with stun counters because it can basically, as an instant, remove a stun counter.
Yep, that is true. Also, you can tap in response and then play this and then untap it, right? You let the tap trigger resolve. Well, I guess you'd get the trigger anyway, but then play this.
Yeah, you don't need to let it resolve.
Yeah.
It can be on the stack.
It would be on the stack, but it would still, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, you could do good. They're like, oh, I got to get this I got to get this, kill this before. And then you just hit them twice with the trigger. This is punishing. And then they don't even kill it.
Sick. Okay. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a neat 1 mana spell for protecting stuff. You gotta call it the art every once in a while because it's cool. Next pick, whoever wants to go next.
I am going to talk about. I'll talk about Karn Silex. It's 3 mana.
You mean Karn's big steamy bowl of popcorn?
Yeah.
This is the most lickable card in the set, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I haven't decided yet. We're gonna go through everything,
dude,
but it's definitely up there, man.
Dude, his
Listen, you want to lick Karn Silex?
Look, it's obviously heated up and ready to put your popcorn kernels in it. You just put a little oil, some kernels, you have some popcorn. That's it.
A little bit of watermelon.
Fried watermelon.
No, have you seen people were like melting watermelon and then popping their popcorn in it?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
To make watermelon popcorn.
Oh, that's interesting.
I did. That sounds good, actually. I have not done that.
I don't like watermelon, so. Anyway, it's a 3 mana legendary artifact. Karn Silex enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. And then it has the ability pay X and tap. Exile a Karn Silex, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery.
So I first saw this card, and the first thing I thought was, "Fuck them fetch lands in particular."
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, it shuts off fetch lands because they're not mana abilities. It also shuts off, other triggers. What's the guy that pays 7 life? Draw cards.
Sounds like a demon ability.
Yeah. Things like that. So, but mainly the fetch lands, right? Is a static ability.
I don't know. I mean, yes, fetch lands, but also any Phyrexian mana spell.
No, yeah, exactly. I was going to say
right.
that.
Yep. And which is relevant in this set because there's cards that give all of your permanents Phyrexian mana, right? So the other part is the tap ability to destroy each non-land permanent. It's like engineered explosives, but like from a floor and down instead of just a very specific targeted converted mana cost.
Yeah, no, Karn Silex is very good.
The other important thing about Karn Silex is that it exiles itself. So the obvious place for this card is in the Karn fetch decks. Hey, let's go get something out of my sideboard and play it. But with Karn, you can also get things out of exile. So you can go and get this again with Karn and bring it in.
Ooh.
So that's another thing. There are a couple downsides, of course. It would be completely broken if it didn't come in tapped. And also the fact you can only destroy things as a sorcery. Those are kind of like the things that keep it from being completely broken. But I think it is a very good card for the Karn decks.
So, I mean, most of your board wipes are sorceries anyway, and they still get play. So that part, while it's relevant, because if you could do it as an instant, it would be broken. It being a sorcery is not something that is unexpected.
Mostly, I think it won't replace engineered explosives because of that, right? Because you can trigger engineered explosives.
Well, also engineered explosives is probably the better card in Modern.
Yeah. Because it's targeted, but if you want to wipe, then you.
But yeah, what I really like about this card is it gives, in Standard, other colors access to board wipes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can be mono green and have access to a board wipe, or if you, especially like mono green, the amount of mana you produce, and
that's a big boy.
If you've got one big stompy out there and you can exile everything else,
do it.
Or destroy everything else.
Yeah, the Mono Green Pioneer deck I think is going to benefit from this because basically you kill all your mana dorks when you don't need them anymore and just wipe everything else out. Because one of the things that's missing in Pioneer, because engineered explosives is not legal in Pioneer, is any kind of like other side interaction. Like you can't, there's not a lot of like spells or any spells in the main deck that target some other person's creature. So this will help with that, I think.
Nice. I definitely am considering putting this card in my mono green stompy thing that I've been working on. Definitely has a place there. All right. What about your next card there, Other Dave?
I am going to go with the Phasing of Zalfir.
Ooh, another one of Mark Rosewater's hints. This one being a blue destroy all creature spell.
Yep.
Go ahead and tell everybody what it says.
It's the Saga, which costs 2 blue, 2 colorless. The first and second phase of the Saga is another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't phase in for as long as you control the Phasing of Zalfir. And 3 is destroy all creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature token. So,
and it has read ahead.
Yes, and it has read ahead, like all sagas in the set.
Yeah.
This card is just so effective in so many ways. You can drop it and put the Saga in at 1 and still use it defensively to protect your life total. Or if you're in a good place, you can, or if you're falling behind, but you have a couple decent creatures out, you can use it to protect your own creatures and destroy everything else. If you need it to go off a turn earlier, you can drop it at 2. Or if you just need the board wipe right then, you could drop it at 3. It just, everything about this card I like, and I think it makes control very effective. But I think it can be used in decks that are not control even.
Yeah. I think it's neat that it's target non-land permanent. So, like, say there's something that is a 1/1, you could phase that out and not give them a 2/2. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that one, so I'm going to phase it out for when this thing goes off. I think that's cool. Right. It's kind of...
I mean, you can hit their planeswalkers if you're like, I'm going to destroy their creatures anyway, and it's eminently survivable. You can make it so they can't use their planeswalkers for a couple turns.
Right. I'm not sure about standard, how it goes. I'm not sure. I don't know. This seems a lot like a commander card. I mean, it's definitely a commander card. I'm not sure where else it would find a place in other formats.
Does this have a slot in the theoretical mono blue tempo deck that other Dave has?
So the old mono blue tempo deck topped out at 3.
Okay.
It did not make it to 4 usually. In terms of the converted mana cost.
Yeah. So no,
probably not. No.
Okay.
I'm sketchy with Pioneer mostly because it's such a creature heavy format that giving them 2/2 black creatures is, I'm not sure it's like better to do that, right? To wipe the board and give them 2/2s. It's not enough, I guess.
Wipe the board and then drop a meat hook.
Well, but in the blue right control deck, you have Farewell and Supreme Verdict, which destroys all creatures. So
this is a Dimir deck. Obviously, it's got meat hook in it. It's a hypothetical Dimir deck I'm talking about.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So that was actually, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking Dimir would really benefit from this the most.
Yeah.
But I know Dimir doesn't exist there. But I think Dimir might have a place in Standard and or Esper even.
Yeah.
I think you could very easily slot this into Obscura, the current Obscura decks, because you can phase out the creatures you need to keep, destroy everything else.
In Standard, right?
Yeah. You get to keep your Ledger Shredder.
Yeah. He's a workhorse, man.
Well, since you mentioned Esper, like a nice 3-color deck, I am going to bring up my card that I think might give a Jeskai deck of some sort some legs, and that is Temporal Firestorm. It's
never heard of no Jeskai before. You mean America?
America.
Yeah. Jeskai.
Again, I don't know Jeskai. I know America.
It's red, white, and blue for everybody not in the know. Temporal Firestorm is 2 red and 3 generic. It has kicker 1 white, 1 generic, and or kicker 1 blue, 1 generic. And it says, choose up to X creatures and or planeswalkers you control where X is the number of times this spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out. Temporal Firestorm deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. and it is a sorcery.
So
is this card good?
What's that card that does 5 damage to each creature that you played the other week? It has to do with gates.
That I played?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gates Ablaze?
Yeah.
Does number
X
of gates.
Damage, right?
X damage.
How much
where
did that
X is
cost?
the number of gates you control.
3.
I don't know that I like this card. The 5 mana for 5 damage to each creature in Planeswalker is okay.
It's better than Lava Axe.
Well,
it's not.
But
what? Hold up. You're telling me this card that does 5 damage to each creature in each Planeswalker is not better than Lava Axe, which is 5 for 5. 1 creature, 1 Planeswalker, or a player.
Exactly. Player. I thought Lava Axe was player only even.
Is it player only? I don't know.
Like, Lava Axe has a very specific purpose.
I think it's player only.
Which is to deal 5 damage to a player.
Player or Planeswalker.
Okay.
I think they eroded that.
Well, because how Planeswalker damage worked originally, if you could do damage to a player, you could choose to do damage to a Planeswalker instead.
Right.
So, okay, fine.
So I think this has they just have different purposes, so it's hard to say which one's better. Lava Axe is specifically designed to take a chunk of life off of your opponent or to use as a kill spell, whereas this is designed to clear the board.
Yeah,
but 5 damage does not always clear the board.
But you get to pick 1 or 2 of your best threats too.
If you pay
7 or 9.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
So it's very flavorful. I do think if there is a deck this slots into, it is either Jeskai and or possibly Grixis. Grixis can still pay the kicker at least once, but Grixis can probably get it out of the graveyard and cast it multiple times, giving it more effectiveness. Or America could just use it as control, but I think America probably has access to a board wipe in white that would be better than this.
Yeah.
But that Grixis control deck from last block was running the Goblin, I forget what it's called, but you can either create 3/1/1 Tieflings or Goblins that deal 1 damage to a target when they die, or deal 5 damage to every creature. And so if that was see in play, this can see play.
So what you're saying is that my dreams for like a Jeskai control deck, while not out of the question, are kind of dumb.
Jeskai control has a lot of tools right now. It could certainly happen. I'm not going to say it's dumb. No.
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to find that card in this set that is twin something or another. Like a twin tornado or...
That'd be sick.
You know what I'm talking about?
No. Off the top of my head.
What does it do?
It gives one... It's a modal. It copies a spell or it gives a creature double strike. Because I think that is... I'm not hot on that card, but I think that is a more playable card. Well, and also you were talking about copying things. The problem is that it copies and then you just...
Twinferno.
Twinferno, that's it.
For 1 red and 1 colorless instant, choose 1. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose a new target for the copy. Target or choose target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn.
Yeah. Again, I'm not hot on it, but I think this is if you're going to try to do damage to somebody, you might as well just copy another card that does damage to each creature. You might not get the 5 that way, but...
Yeah, I don't think that's a better card than Temporal Firestorm. I was like, what do you... Because then you have 3 mana left to cast a spell. It maybe does 4 damage. You maybe get to choose 2 targets.
What I'm saying is that you can use this in more instances than Temporal Firestorm. Like... Temporal Firestorm is a very targeted, specific, like, I do really bad against aggro decks, so I'm going to slot this in. If you use it at all, Twinferno, while not a good card, like, keep in mind, it's not a good card. This I think would see more play if you just copy the thing you want to kill things with and kill 2 things, or, there are multiple spells that say does, 2 damage to 2 creatures or, things like that.
I think Temporal Firestorm is still the better card in that circumstance.
Okay.
Because there was a reason that other card was seeing play. I wish I could remember what it was now. And that's like 5 damage to everything, kills a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And gets rid of a lot of planeswalkers. And if you're in control, 5 mana is actually really not that bad. Even 7 mana is playable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I also know why I thought about this card, because it's Jaya with Joda, and then in Temporal Firestorm, it's Jaya with Teferi. It's like she's teaming up with people in this set.
Yep. She teams up with one person in particular that doesn't work out real well.
Neither card I would play. That's the point. But like in a Boros deck, if I'm going to choose which one to use, if I have to use one of them, I'm going to use Twinferno in a Boros deck.
Well, yeah, but Boros doesn't... Temporal Firestorm doesn't fit into Boros. That's why you don't... Of course...
America card, man.
Because Boros is always going to need low to the ground creatures to be effective. And this is going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. That's why it's for control. It's for decks that don't have a lot of creatures where you're not going to kneecap yourself by casting it.
I see. Yeah. If you're going to, what's the point of adding a red into control? Like, what do you gain?
There's already red, and if you can, there was a Grixis control deck not 2 sets ago.
Well, sorry. If you add red to blue-white is what I mean.
Targeted damage.
White has a lot of that.
So
targeted
that's why I said before, I think it's better for Grixis than Jeskai.
Oh, I see. Get rid of the white, because the white has all the tools you need for
because the white's going to have board wipes anyway.
Right.
And access to board wipes that aren't going to kill things that have more than, or still going to kill things that have more than 5 toughness. Whereas this, if you're in Grixis, you have no board wipes.
Right.
Other than, I guess you have Meat Hook right now, but.
Yeah, not with these cards.
And it's, like I said originally, it's 5 mana to do 5 damage to each creature and Planeswalker, which is okay in itself.
Yeah.
Even if you don't kick it at all.
Yeah, if you're in Grixis, like I said before, you're in Grixis, you have access to play this spell multiple times because Grixis has tons of ways to cast instants and sorceries out of your graveyard. You have access to the blue, so you could still save one of your permanents if you needed to. It's probably your best board wipe option. Because, Meat Hook, if you're going to kill everything with 5 toughness, is going to cost you 7 also.
So you get to save something. And you wiped everything. You don't get the life gain. Yeah,
so I don't know. Because the 5 mana is the part that's killing me, I guess. It's the big part that's coming. Because you can't Snapcaster this unless you have 7 mana open.
Well, I didn't say it's good in Modern.
No, I know. I'm just saying, how are you going to get it out of the graveyard? Just like Balaged Recovery with green and just put a card from your graveyard to your hand again? Or that's my... I'm trying to think of ways to get it out of the graveyard.
I just told you Grixis has tons of ways to do that. I don't...
Oh, well, that's what I was wondering, which ones, because I was thinking Snapcaster.
He wants examples.
Like sorceries. I know
Grixis,
I know black can get creatures for days.
Grixis has Leer. It would kill Leer to cast it, but...
Oh, Disciple of the Drown.
Yeah. But it also, I forget the card, there's a card that gets instants and sorceries out of graveyard and puts them into your hand.
I feel like there's a couple of Izzet cards that do it, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
I can see it, I guess. I just personally wouldn't play that card.
Honestly, we've spent way more discussion on it than I thought we would. I thought I'd bring it up and you guys would be like, this is a dumb card. Let's move on. So,
well, I want it to be good. That's the thing. I'm not.
I think 5
damage
move on, man,
is good, I guess.
This isn't the Temporal Storm podcast.
I'll go to my next pick here. So my pick will be Soul of Windgrace. It is green, red, black, and 1 colorless. Whenever Soul of Windgrace enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. Pay green, discard a land, you gain 3 life. Pay 1 red and 1 colorless, discard a land, draw a card. Pay 1 black, 2 colorless, discard a land, Soul of Windgrace gains indestructible till end of turn, and tap it. It's like Baby Omnath. or something. It's Omnath is rotating out of standard, and I think that this card is like not as broken as Omnath, but it does do some different things. It does recur a land from the graveyard to the battlefield. So whatever you need to do, it's like has the Wrenn and 6 effect built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Discard the land, you gain 3 life. Discard a land, draw a card. Discard a land, and then protect it. So it has a lot of modal effects that you can do. And the interesting thing about this is when you don't play a land on the turn, you have it in your hand, you can discard the land, attack with him, and then put the land onto the battlefield. So you're getting both effects, except with the tapped land. I think I think you can do some neat stuff with this, I guess.
I think it's a neat commander card.
Yeah,
for sure.
It might be good for Jund in Pioneer, maybe?
Are you finally going to get Jund to work in Pioneer because of this card?
Maybe.
I mean, it's certainly got some nice effects on it. It can affect game state.
I think this will see play. I'm just not sure exactly what it will look like yet because it's kind of a complicated card you kind of need to play with.
It's got a lot going on.
Burn Down the House. That's the card I was thinking of.
Oh, yes, that is the one I was thinking of. I was trying to think of the 5 damage. It
was Innistrad, not Forgotten Realms. That's why I was getting confused. I thought it was in Forgotten Realms.
Man, our conversation would have been way smaller if we just thought of this card.
Yeah.
Because this is a better card than that other.
It's not. It's almost the same card.
Yeah, but if you don't need to kill every 5, you can get 3 devils.
3 1/1 devils for 5. Yeah, that's real effective. I've seen this card cast 100 times, and I've not once seen someone make the devils out of it.
You are correct. I have seen the same. But yeah, I don't know. That kicker can be great because you can protect a couple things, but I think it's just too expensive.
But you don't need to have the kicker. The kicker is just a bonus when you have a 5-mana board wipe in Grixis. Assuming that on turn 5, most things are not going to have 5 toughness. There's a reason. There's a reason.
3
Burn Down the
Devils
House
is a bonus that you can use if you don't need it.
That's if you don't need it.
Yeah.
Again, I've never seen anyone cast it for the 3/1/1 Devils, but I've seen it cast 100 times to do 5 damage.
What situation is it more advantageous to cast it for 3/1/1 Devils than it is just to keep it in your hand in case you need it later?
Against a deck that's not playing creatures or planeswalkers.
Which
is really nothing because it's either creatures or planeswalkers, right?
So,
at this point, yes.
Yeah.
The only scenario I can think of is your opponent's down to 3 life and there's nothing on their side of the board.
So the only situation I've seen someone make the creatures rather than use it to do 5 damage to everything is if 5 damage wouldn't kill everything and they needed blockers to buy an extra turn.
Yeah.
2 turns. There's 2 scenarios where that plays out.
Yeah. So I have seen it, but again, I've only seen, of the 100 times I've seen that spell cast, but I've seen them make the devils once or twice.
Yeah.
Which
one's a better bonus? Phasing a couple of your creatures out for 9 mana or 7 mana or 3/1/1 devils instead?
But here's the point I'm trying to make that you just keep hammering the 7 mana is that this card saw play in Standard as a board wipe in Grixis.
Yeah.
Why do you think Temporal Firestorm can't do the same?
Oh, it can. If you have Burn Down the House, would you? My question is, would you replace Burn Down the House with Temporal Firestorm?
Yes.
Okay. I still stand that I wouldn't play either, but that's.
Well, how much Grixis do you play? That's the real question.
Not in Standard. I don't play Grixis in Standard.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's not my style of play either, but I think that card has a place.
I will say when I was watching people play Standard and they play Burn Down the House, it's like a moment.
Yeah.
They got him.
This Temporal Firestorm card has caused way more debate than I ever thought it would.
It's because it's on the fringe, you know? It's like, it could be good, it could not be good. I don't know.
All right, well, let's move on, because we've...
All right, Dave.
So much time on
Superior
this. Other
Dave,
Dave,
you're up.
Get yourself a card.
Okay, I'm going to go with Sheldred, the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, just on its own, 2 black, 2 colorless to get a 4/5 death touch. It's pretty
It's a good
decent.
body. Yep.
Yeah. Unless it's like your opponent has a Temporal Firestorm. But
Right.
And then whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life.
That's the sweet spot right there.
Yeah.
I like this card. I do. I've heard some people saying that, like, it's not as good as the other Praetors, and, like, because, like, Jinja Taxia just takes over the game by himself. But
Yeah,
I don't think this card
not
is...
better?
Jinja Taxia doesn't hit the board until, like, turn
Right.
10.
Yeah.
Well,
my point is that this is not meant to take over the game by itself. This is a value body. Like, it doesn't get anything on ETB, which I can see why people would have a problem with that. But what it does do, if it's not immediately killed, is it gains you advantage over time. Because every turn they're losing and you're gaining, you're draining them.
It's every card draw. I think it's a cool card. It's got legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's like a millipede.
It seems at least 8.
I don't know. Look in the background. She's got
that background is
stuff
whole
in the
body.
back.
Oh Lord, that's a lot
It's got legs for days.
Legs
for real. Yeah, I think that it's got a lot of places that I would try to put it. See what happens.
Even if it only serves the purpose of forcing removal, because I've talked before about how, like, it's a card you have to deal with. You cannot leave it on the board.
The lightning rod.
Yeah, your flag bearer. Even if its only purpose is to make it so that other things that you play don't get removed, it still served a purpose.
And let's be honest, a 4/5 death touch is scary. A 1/1 death touch, you're like, okay, I can lose 1 creature and kill the thing and then be good and not have it mess with me anymore. But it's going to be hard to combat damage, kill this 4/5 death touch.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to come out on advantage anytime with a 4/5 death touch. So,
yes. Just the way that it extends the game for you and it shortens the game for your opponent, it's something that has to be answered.
do you want to, Dave, do you want to talk about your other ones? Because they kind of all go together.
Yeah, I picked the Black Trinity here, the Sheldred Braids and the Raven Man, because I was kind of thinking of them playing together. They have that 2, 3, 4 drop rate. So
yeah.
You can drop Raven on turn 2, which is, a 1 black, 1 colorless at the beginning of each end step. If a player discarded a card this turn, you create a 1/1 bird token with flying that can't block. And you can tap it for 4, and each opponent discards a card. You can activate that only as a sorcery. Then Braids drops 3, which is the beginning of your end step. You can sacrifice an artifact, creature, or enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent that doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. If you have Raven Man, especially if you have Lily of the Veil, which I didn't put in here, but if you have Lily also, and Raven Man is making ravens, and you're sacrificing them to Braids, and your opponent's either sacrificing their creatures or letting you draw a card, and you're drawing a card and you're gaining 4 life, you're gaining 2 life for the draw card and they're losing 2 life, it's going to get out of hand real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to make a very scary standard deck, I think.
Is this the start of a mono black deck, or are we slotting this in something else?
It's kind of what I'm leaning towards making at the moment in standard when this set comes out.
Yeah,
is a mono
me too.
black. I hate you even having a hand. Basically.
There was a deck there was a Lantern control in standard that's now phasing out with the rotation, and I think this is just I'm going to slot right in there, be good. The interesting thing about Braids is that you can say you have land advantage, you can sacrifice your land and force them to either sacrifice their own land or to lose 2 life. And then you get to draw cards to give you card advantage. So like this, like the way Braids is written, man, you can play this smartly and just overtake the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple angles of attack.
And I'm also glad that Braids finally got a good card.
What was her original card?
Not good.
Not good.
It all had effects like this, but this is like those effects on crack.
Also, didn't she get she got a time shifted card too, right?
Yeah, Cabal Minion. Well, that was Eternal Master, so that was a Master's card. I'm not sure about time shifted, but her other one was at the beginning, each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land, and that's it.
Yeah, Braids Conjurer Adept from Planar Chaos.
Right, that's it.
She was 2 blue, 2 colorless. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they can put an artifact, creature, or land card from their hand into play.
Yeah, because she turned from black to blue in that time shift, right?
Yeah.
Wah, wah. Well, sweet. Well, I'm going to go move on to my next one. Maybe I'll just do 2, since
hopefully we talk about them as long as we talk about Temporal Firestorm.
Oh, God, I hope not. No, I just want to bring up that Phyrexian Rager's back. It's a reprint card. It's a pretty good black Pauper staple. It's in my Pauper deck that I have. I like it a lot.
It'll be Pauper playable.
Well, it is Pauper.
That's all I'll say.
It's in my Pauper deck on Magic Online.
Yes.
Good card. Anyways, it's back, so I'm real stoked about that. And then I'm going to go with Silverback Elder because I know Ben wants to talk about this card too.
Oh yeah.
So let's get on it. It's 3 green and 2 generic.
Everyone's favorite moss-covered gorilla.
This gorilla is even swagger than the lobster. But anyways, it's a Ape Shaman. Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose 1. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Or, last, you gain 4 life. This card does work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is an immediate add to modern or mono green Pioneer / Explorer deck. This is automatic add, and it takes the place of Cavalier of Thorns instantly. Not that Cavalier of Thorns is bad. This card is just better. The fact that you get the triggers every time you cast a creature spell, which you do a lot in that deck, and the only thing that Cavalier of Thorns does differently is that you get to put a card from your graveyard on top of your library when it dies. But I don't think that effect is sadly missing by getting these other effects. You get to gain life. You get to destroy target artifact, enchantment. Yeah, it's just better in every way.
I'm not sure I agree with you.
Oh, no. Have I started another?
No.
No, I just... So Cavalier of Thorns
has an ETB trigger.
Yeah, he has his ETB trigger, where Silverback Elder needs other creatures to come into play to trigger. So if Silverback Elder gets removed, the other thing about the Cavaliers is they have that effect also. They have an effect when they get removed as well.
Right, when they die.
And so people often, they're a little bit more... You get 2 triggers, basically, if someone kills your Cavalier as soon as you cast it. You get no triggers if someone kills your Silverback as soon as you cast it.
That is true.
That said, the triggers on Silverback are probably better than the triggers on Cavalier.
I mean, of course, if I put this in my deck...
stay on the board.
Yeah, if I put this in my deck and it doesn't die, then immediately, then it'll stay. But if not, then I'll slot back in Cavalier Thorns. But... yeah,
I just like that he's carrying around a tree as a staff.
Yeah, just a straight tree. It's not even a sapling; it is a straight tree.
Definitely a cool card. Got some great art. Does work. Kind of beefy for 5. That's not bad. Not bad at all.
He does not die to Temporal Firestorm.
Yes, he does not. That is true.
The other thing just about him real quick is that it's versus Cavalier Thorns, obviously, because that's just the analog card for this, is that you put the cards, when you go search for the land, you put the cards on the bottom of your library instead of the graveyard. I have learned in the mono green deck that is like, you casting a Cavalier of Thorns and losing those cards is really inconsequential. So I don't think that's a big separation. I don't think that's a big difference there. I did want to mention that.
All right, let's move on to why don't you do 2 year picks there, Ben? May I suggest your lords?
Oh yeah, I got 2 lords. These are the 2 best lords in the set. I think I could take or leave the other ones. I think that these 2 have potential promise. So I'll start with the one that I rate lower, maybe. I don't know. Leaf Crown Visionary. It's 2 green, or it's green creature elf druid. It's a 1/1. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay 1 green. If you do, draw a card. Super powerful.
Yeah.
Dice to Chain Whirler's no good.
Right. Well, yeah. Obviously, yeah. Because it doesn't buff itself.
Unless there's a second one.
Correct. So anyway, but the thing is...
any number of the other 15 elf lords that buff of every other elf.
Right. So this is obviously going to go in an elf deck. From modern to, it might see legacy. I'm not familiar with the elf deck enough to know if this would be good for that. But
I don't think so.
Yeah, that elf legacy deck is it's stacked.
I'd say it uses Slate to draw cards, right?
Yeah,
or it used to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Slate is obscene in that deck, so yeah. I don't think that this replaces Slate in any way.
And then the other one is Runevelt Hordemaster. It is 1 red, 1 green, creature, goblin, warrior. It is a 1/1. Other goblins you control get +1/+1. Whenever Runevelt Hordemaster or another goblin you control dies, exile the top card of your library. If it's a goblin creature card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. A lot going on here. Basically, when you throw your goblins to the fodder, you can replace them. Is the idea, right?
Is that card advantage I smell?
Super card advantage in a goblin deck. There are some other combos that you can use with this card. It's Skirk Prospector, I believe.
Yeah, the sacrifice a goblin, add mana to your mana.
Yeah, so you sack, and then you you can use Skirk. You add red to sacrifice a goblin and add red. Yeah, and then you can dig through your deck basically.
Yep, and then use the mana to pay for the things you find.
Yep. So I think that one's going to see play wherever there's a goblin deck. I think Legacies, people in Legacy are kind of excited about this card too. Legacy goblins, from what I hear.
Sick. All right. I'm going to do... Oh, man. I think we should do one more each and then call it a day. But I have 2 I really want to talk about.
Sounds good.
So I guess... I'll shelve my pick for my wall commander deck and just go with Joda the Unifier for Wooburg, legendary creature, human wizard. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whew. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with a lesser mana value. You may cast that spell without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of the of your library in a random order, and it's a 5/5. Good God, that's a mouthful, but it's a good card, right?
In specific situations, yeah. It's like a Cascade for Legendary.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and make my argument that this is a 5-color Lord because legendary creatures are very lordly.
You did make that prediction that the Lords would be a Lord, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was going to be a 5-color Lord.
He doesn't say the word Lord on him, but...
None of the Lords do, though. So you can't get that technical with me. So
that's true.
But what we can do is get technical enough with you to say none of the Lords are legendary creatures either.
The ones in the DMU commander set are the assassin and the kobold lord.
We don't talk about the commander set.
You guys can go take a friggin' hike. I already won, but I'd like to say that this was pretty close, I think.
I'll give it to you on spec.
I won't.
Well, 2 out of 3 you're outvoted.
Only because it doesn't matter. If it came down to it and it was a tie and this was going to push you over, I'd say nah.
Yeah, I'd like to win more, please. All right, so any more thoughts about this card?
it's hard to evaluate him because I haven't played in a set where you focus on legendary. I mean, obviously it's probably good for commander. You build a legendary commander deck. I just don't know if the thing about Cascade is it's very tough because Cascade is really powerful. It's like okay just by itself, but it's really powerful when you build your deck around your Cascade cards and never having anything but your one target you want as the target, right? So, for example, Living End's a no mana spell because you have to cast it with Suspend. So your Cascade spells are all 3 mana value. So you have no other cards in your deck that are lower than that are 2 or 1 or 0. You have nothing. So it always hits that Living End. So it's hard to value how powerful this can be unless you're doing that, right?
I think honestly that this card probably has more legs in like outside of standard or more mainly commander, where you can dip into some of the legendary spells from Dominaria. Because right now the only thing that's going to set this off are legendary creatures, because there's no other legendary spells in the set that I'm aware of.
Right.
I did a brief look, so I don't know. I don't know if it has any legs in standard, but I'm thinking commander if you build around it real good.
Oh yeah, commander. I could see this being a thing, but in a constructed format where you want more consistency, I'm not sure you can reach that. But I'd like to be proven wrong because I like Joda. So,
oh, he's one of my favorite characters. Definitely. Any thoughts, other Dave?
Nope.
You don't like this card, do you?
Joda? I do not.
You're like, I have no strong opinions about this card either way.
It exists.
Oh, it certainly does. All right. Well, why don't you?
I'm not a big fan of anything 5-color, really. At the end of the day,
you're not a Wooburg stan.
No.
If you can fire off Golos Tireless Pilgrim's ability, it really pisses people off and they rage quit. Basically, you pay Wooburg and 2, and then you exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you can play them this turn without paying their mana costs. Like, people, if you can do that, I've done it in the mono green deck in Explorer, and people, every time I do it, people just quit. They're like, done. I'm done.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, because you have there's a land in there that you pay 5. I forget the name of it, but you pay 5 and it makes Wooburg. So you just do that. Get Golos with Karn. That's the combo. All right. So for my pick, I went through a lot of different things and tried to find one that I fit for this last slot that I think could be interesting. And I don't know. I settled on Threats Undetected, 1 green, 2 colorless. Search your library for it's a sorcery. Search your library for up to 4 creature cards with different powers and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Shuffle the chosen cards into your library and put the rest onto your hand. Or into your hand. This is like Gifts Ungiven, right?
Yeah, I'm getting vibes.
Yeah.
It's definitely Gifts Ungiven. It's even the art mimics Gifts Ungiven's art.
Yeah. Threats Undetected. The name mimics it. I'm not sure, like in standard and stuff like that, what your targets would be, but I think the idea would be that you want to get 4 bangers, right? But you want to. It's like the Lotus Field deck when you give them the choice, and it's really they don't have a choice. You can do that with this card. You put a really banger creature in one pile and another banger creature in another pile, and then they're going to have to get the shit end of the stick either way, right? And I like that play pattern. I
don't know that this one sees play the way that Gifts Ungiven did, just because sorcery speed and creatures only is not as effective,
right?
But I guess time will tell. I've been wrong before.
And it's noted that Gifts Ungiven was 4 cards with different names, so it was like very much.
It was more versatile.
Yes. And then Gifts Ungiven went to the graveyard. This goes back into your library. So, but minimal differences. This is 1 less converted mana cost too. So I'd like to see it like a deck built around this, to do fun things with.
Might be neat. Brew us up something special.
Yeah.
I've noticed that other Dave doesn't have any more picks. So
it's because he did 3 in a row.
Yeah. naturally, that means that I'll just go with my last one, which is Shield Wall Sentinel. It's an artifact creature golem for 4, and it has Defender. And when Shield Wall Sentinel enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with Defender, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. It's a 1/3 power toughness. This is a Defender tutor. I think it's neat.
Yeah, you like your walls.
Dude, one of these days I'm going to get that wall deck in paper. And
this definitely goes in
Commander.
there.
It definitely slots into Wall Tribal Commander, and I have seen people talk about Wall Pauper. So, very excited for it.
Dude, you just blink this thing in and out, and you go and find all your walls.
Get all the walls. Yeah, definitely do that. All right, I'm going to take like 5-minute break to go to the bathroom, and then we'll finish the podcast. I'm about ready to piss myself. I need to stop drinking Monday mornings. You
shouldn't drink in the mornings anyway. That makes you an alcoholic.
Just be able to drink whatever I want. This is America.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
All right. Well, that was, I think those were some great spoilers. I liked them all. Before we wrap up the spoilers, though, we have to choose this set's most lickable card. You guys have any input on this?
It's Sheoldred. She has a lot of legs.
Got
okay. Wait, let's put it this way. Quentin Tarantino's favorite card is Sheoldred.
Sounds to me like you just admitted to having a foot fetish as well.
No.
It's all right. You're allowed to like whatever you want. No judgments from me.
Yeah. Don't kink shame. You're not yucking my yum. No. I'll leave the feet for Quentin Tarantino.
Seems fair. Okay, well, I don't know. You guys have to help me pick.
It's corn, dude. It's corn Silex.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The popcorn bowl.
Man, that's like ready-made.
Really gets me. I like that a lot, but that gorilla is the swaggest gorilla
swag
ever. And then you've got Larry the Lobster up here on Shore Up that looks pretty swag too. So this is a tough call for this set.
I think if you could see Larry's face.
Lobster tails are pretty good. A giant one has got to be better.
That's true.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, we'll save this for after the podcast, but I have a giant lobster religion I want to pitch you guys.
So what's our vote?
Yeah, what's our vote? I think I'm going to go with Karn Silex. Because not only is it a giant popcorn ball, but I really feel like it does, the card itself, mechanically, does what the Silex would do. So
cook popcorn? Oh, no. Okay.
Exile non-land permanents with mana value X.
It kind of does that, right? The Silex
the Silex does that. So I think ultimately we're going to go with Karn Silex.
And it's anti-Phyrexian because you can't pay life, right?
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
It's like perfect.
It does everything Karn would want his popcorn bowl to do. He don't want to share with the Phyrexians. He, wants to be able to remove everything after. Very nice.
I'll put my hat in the bowl for that.
Excellent. So this set's most lickable card, the one with the most flavor, Karn's Silex.
Yeah, even more flavorful if you put watermelon in it. First.
Apparently that's a thing.
You sure it's not Urza assembling the Titan?
Why would you do this to me? We were almost clear. Yes.
That art's
we got to go with
the Urza with the symbols of Tarkin. It's got the apocalypse mask. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sticking with Karn Silex. You're trying to trip me up. I get what you're doing. You're trying to make my day bad because I'm going to be like, I should have picked that for the rest of the week. But we're going to go with that.
And I think the thing he's standing on also has 7 rings.
It's Phyrexia 9.
Nine. But there's not 9.
Yeah, I didn't count, so I don't know, man.
Oh, it does have the Phyrexian symbol in the middle. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. See?
Flavorful. I forgot it was 9 and not 7.
Mm-hmm.
Mixing lore up.
Yes. Anyways, we'll do that. Honorable mention goes to Urza assembling the Titans, and then swaggest art can go to the Silverback Gorilla.
There you go.
Silverback Elder. Honorable mention goes to Larry the Lobster in Shore Up. And we're moving on to the Brew Challenge. We're going to do the Brew Challenge, Historic Pauper Deck Brew. This is the time where we submit our deck.
We do typically do these on Monday at 1 p.m. when we do them, which has been pretty consistent lately. So
yeah, every other
in mind
Monday
if you want to catch one live
on the Magic Proofing Grounds Twitch channel, or alternatively catch it on the YouTubes or in the VODs. Okay, so what I was saying at the top of the show was I spent probably more time than I should have doing this challenge. I brewed a completely I wanted to do mono black because I haven't done that in a challenge, so I'm doing mono black. And then I brewed one that was like featured a lot of discard and just taking stuff from people, which is cool, but I didn't really like how it played, and I didn't really feel like it was that good. And then so I built a mono black zombie themed.
Oh no!
Did you do mono black zombie too?
I did.
That was one of the decks I tooled with, but didn't want to spend wild cards on.
Okay, so you should post your list, and we'll compare to see what you got versus what I got. And then,
what did you post your list already?
Yeah, I posted it in the Discord. Just put it up.
Oh.
No, wait, I forgot to hit enter. It's been submitted.
This is going to be interesting.
What deck did you decide to go with there, Ben?
I made a huge mistake.
Oh no!
I was looking through Pauper because I like to try to do, like, I could have done some really powerful Pauper decks and stuff, but I always try to do my challenges like something that's not in the meta. You know what I mean? Like something.
So something that's bad, is that your cover for being bad?
Well, no, because my Thopter deck's actually decent.
Something that he takes directly off of NTG Goldfish, like that.
I did the Gladiator deck. I did. I literally spent hours on that. I swear to you.
By not in the meta means he scrolled to the 10th page of MTG Goldfish.
What I really wanted to do was there. I know that there's an interaction where you can blink Mold Drifter in Pauper. So I wanted to build around that, but then I looked and there's already a really popular deck doing all that. So I chose not to go that route, even though it probably would have been the better play. Because I was like, it's suspiciously missing from the Pauper meta, Landfall. Turns out there's a reason it's not in the meta, because it's not very good. But I'm going to try it anyway, because I already spent my wild cards on it, and I didn't want to spend like 40 more common wild cards to build a different deck. So that's what we're going with. There's only very few landfall common cards, and I think that's why it's not a thing. So we'll see. It's a mono green landfall deck.
I forgot to put the Witch's Cottage in this version of the deck. Oh well. I was looking through your list you just submitted. I said, he's got the Witch's Cottages in there too. And then I was like, wait a minute. They're not in mine. What the hell? They were in my first version. That sucks. Anyways, I didn't spend any time tweaking my deck's land. Oh dear. I see that you have in your deck, Other Dave, Gem Palm Polluter. I assume that is your like coup de grace card.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I have that card in mine as well. That's how I knew. It's funny how that is. Okay, so, you've got a lot of different, probably better cards in yours than mine, but I'm interested to see how this plays out between this. I wouldn't call it a mirror match, but theme mirror match, me, you.
Yeah.
And then we have Benoit's admittedly bad landfall deck.
It's not bad. It's just not very good.
I mean, you made it, so it's bad.
You seem pretty upset about that Gladiator deck that I made.
That I trounced?
Well, yeah, you did, but I don't know why you're so upset about it.
Oh, man, speaking of our Gladiator decks, I turned my blue-white control deck into a Historic Brawl deck.
Mm-hmm. Where's your commander?
Teferi, Hero Dominaria.
I would say it's Teferi.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's always been Teferi. I don't know if I get wins because people hate playing against it, or if it's just good, but getting some wins.
Probably a mix of both.
Makes me feel good about myself just a little bit. Anyways, we will post the results on the YouTube channel, and we'll either talk about it next week. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap this bad boy up. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find us, Ben?
You can send us an email at podcast@magicprovinggrounds.com. You can find us on Twitter at MPGPod. And you can find me on my personal Twitter at BeNiceMPG. Where can they find you, Moderator Dave?
They can find me on the Twitter Spaces at Dave_MPG. They can also find me currently morning on the weekdays streaming on the Magic Proving Grounds Twitch channel for the time being. So check that out. Where can they find you, other Dave? Last we checked, you were in the southwest region of the Lone Star State.
I am currently in the swamps of Louisiana.
Again?
I got turned around. And
you went back for more gumbo?
Had a craving for some crawfish.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the swamps to get some more crawfish.
We've lost him. We'll check back at you in Mardi Gras.
Never to return.
I'm
just going to become a swamp monster.
Yeah.
That's my plan now.
It seems that you've spent some time in Texas since you went to across it and then back, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Is it true what they say? Is everything bigger in Texas?
I gained about 20 pounds, so
all that barbecue.
Eating Texas barbecue, yeah. So yes. At least I am bigger in Texas.
All that barbecue and then the fried sticks of bacon butter.
I didn't do any fried sticks of bacon butter.
This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is Texas classic. Totally not making this up. You take a stick of butter, you freeze it, and then you get like bacon, and you wrap that butter with bacon till it's completely covered end to end in bacon. And then you get a beer batter, and you beer batter it, and then you deep fry it. And then you got yourself a bacon, deep fried bacon butter stick.
Well, didn't somebody win a contest for like best fried food doing this? Like legitimately?
Maybe that's where I heard it. I know somebody fried beer one time at the Texas State Fair.
Yeah.
And won a contest. They really like their fried weird shit.
Yeah.
In Texas.
That they do. Sounds like coronary artery disease.
Yes. I did see a giant butter statue of Sam Elliott as I was traveling across Texas. So.
Nice.
Was his epic mustache accurately depicted?
It was starting to melt.
Need to redo that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that man justice.
Exactly. That guy's got a voice, I'll tell you what. All right. Well, that's the show. Cue the music.
He's also got a 20-inch hog, according to the butter statue.
Is it to scale?
Actual hog or motorcycle? Because a little tiny motorcycle would be hilarious.
I think you were going to say motorcycle.
I'm going to go, though.
Wait, you say religion?
A giant lobster religion, yeah.
Is this like a giant spaghetti monster thing?
No, this is an actual giant lobster. So there's a post. It was on. I don't know where it was. Doesn't matter. But it's there's a post like, let's start a religion because
tax exemption
lobsters. No, well, yeah, also, but lobsters are technically immortal. They just keep growing, and the only reason why they die is because they get too big to molt properly. So the religion takes a lobster,
grows it,
helps it molt, And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then once it's a giant Leviathan lobster, you worship it as a god.
I'm down. So I just got to pull some carapace off some lobster. That's my job.
That's your job, and feed it. And, you know, it's like going to SeaWorld every Sunday, except it's church.
Oh, wow.
And it's a giant lobster. See? It works, man. Join and then you get the tax write-off, giant lobster religion.
Yeah, tax write-off
God is actually real.
Too. I'll pay for
Immortal
some of the
lobster god. Yeah. Okay.
You're cracking me up, man.
You sound like it's very funny. You sound like you really enjoyed my idea.
Get it. Cracking me up.
Oh, cracking. Oh, that went right over my head there for a second.